right from the jump, you could see Fairleigh Dickinson was not folding. They were not going to get trucked. And they had a game plan. This wasn't, let's just hoist up a couple of three-pointers and hope that we win. They saw Zach Edey, 7'4" center, All-American, and they said, we're going to swarm him every time he touches the basketball. And we're not just going to sit back and let him just dominate the post. We're going to swarm him and make him really annoyed. It's going to be, a giant going out to the deck, and there's like 15,000 mosquitoes on a summer night, and even though you can slap every single one of them, they just keep coming in waves. Zach Edey's ball handling was a disgrace. Just a total disgrace. I mean, every time he got the ball, it was like, what do I do, coach? What do I do? And then even when he got the ball and there was nobody around him, he fumbled out of bounds. It was awful. And Matt Painter didn't know what to do. That somehow Tobin Anderson had game planned for Purdue and Purdue didn't game plan for FDU. And at the end of this game, the Purdue offensive drought at the end of this game against the shortest team in America was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. And this is all the credit in the world to FDU, but Purdue should be humiliated and embarrassed to no end. I'm going to give you, the Fairleigh Dickinson schedule this year, all right? Again, they didn't win their conference. Here are some of their losses this year. Fairleigh Dickinson lost to Longwood. They lost to Southern Illinois Edwardsville. That's right. Not even the real Salukis. The Edwardsville SIU.
Little satellite campus?
They lost to Hartford. They lost to Queens. That's not a college in Queens, New York. That's a college in North Carolina. They lost to Queens of North Carolina.
Whoa.
They lost to Sacred Heart. They lost to Stonehill College. I mean, they lost to Central Connecticut. They were like, everybody in Connecticut beat them. The fact that Purdue lost to this team is one of the great disgraces ever. It's one of the greatest disgraces of all time. You have no idea what Fairleigh Dickinson is, because how could you unless you lived in the area? People that live here in the New York City area don't even know. Fairleigh Dickinson is in Teaneck, New Jersey, just outside of New York City. They don't even have a train stop on the New Jersey Transit. The stops skip over Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, there's just no way to get to it's just a commuter school. It's just a random commuter school in Teaneck, New Jersey, and they have a Division I basketball team that beat Purdue. So Tobin Anderson deserves a ton of credit. All those kids on FDU deserve a ton of credit. They were awesome. Absolutely awesome. And Andrew Catalan's call, the final call, FDU Believe It, was so good. It was on T-shirts like 50 seconds later. But FDU's sports information director is a junior at the college. I mean, they don't even have a full-time paid adult to do the job. By the way, you're navigating the NCAA tournament and you're still in school. That's how outrageous this was. UMBC beating Virginia was an incredible moment. The first 16 over a 1 ever. But UMBC had more of an athletic and basketball history than Fairleigh Dickinson does. UMBC won its tournament that year. They won the automatic bid. I mean, now I wasn't an adult enough to understand the Chaminade over Virginia upset. It was a Christmas Eve night in Hawaii. Nobody ever watched it. There's no footage of this, but it's Ralph Sampson, a national champion contender, losing to D3 Chaminade, I think, in the middle of the night There's no evidence that it ever happened except of a news column. So that might still be the greatest of all time. But in terms of the tournament, this tops UMBC. It does. This tops it. This was insane. And Purdue, well, I mean, just what a complete and utter disgrace. So I think it is notable also that a 16-1 never happened until a couple of years ago, and now it's happened twice in 4 years. 2019, 2018? I think it was 2018. So twice in 5 years after it never having happened. I think that's notable. And I think it's notable because of all the things that I mentioned earlier in the show. College basketball is way more of a crapshoot today than ever before. And it'll continue to be this way. The transfer portal is the biggest reason. The biggest reason is that now, if you're not happy with your playing time, with the coach, with your teammates, with geography, with whatever, or you just want more playing time somewhere else, you can transfer to anywhere you want to go immediately. There is no regulations on it. There is no punishment, no penalty. So kids just disperse. It's dropping a jar of ants in the middle of your deck and then watching the ants go everywhere. They used to funnel to the same schools. And occasionally somebody would get one 5-star kid or a 5-star and a 4-star, and then you'd wonder why they were cheating or how they weren't caught, But now this 5-star kid can go here, then he can go there, then he can go there. So that part is crazy that won't slow down. Number two, when you have all of the legendary coaches leaving, it flattens the competitive advantage that a lot of these schools have, and they become more beatable. You also have, because college basketball, Coach K doesn't sit in a dark room and come up with a scheme that nobody else can come up with. Coaching and the dispersal of information and, how you can attack a certain type of player, et cetera, that information is so well known that flattens your competitive advantage as well. And I just think that great teams aren't really great anymore. Look at this tournament. Are the 4 1 seeds great teams? No, and I don't know if they'll get back to being that way. I made this joke last week, but it's not really a joke. How many players before the tournament could you name in the entire sport? The entire sport, if you weren't a hardcore college basketball fan. I'm just talking about the average sports fan that watches football most of the year, maybe watches the NBA, Major League Baseball, etc., and then pops into the tournament in March and fills out a bracket. How many players could you name? I would venture to say most people could name 0. 0. And then I would argue, I'll give you the 4 1 seeds. Give me their coaches. Here's the 4 best teams in the country. Could you name the coach of Houston? Could you name the coach of Purdue? You probably could get Kansas. Could you name the coach at Alabama? Most people probably couldn't get 2 of the 4 1-seed coaches. The issue is that everything flattened. Scooter Henderson, who could be the best player in college basketball this year, isn't playing college basketball. Victor Wembanyama, who everybody is tanking for, is never going to play college basketball. So it's just, I think this will end up happening more and more where your 1-16 matchups, okay, that should always be an easy win for the 1, but now it's not going to be always that easy. And the 2-15, honestly, your 3-14 is the new 5-12. There's always going to be one of those that happen every single year. And now, more than likely, there's going to be 2-15s that happen, maybe not every year, but relatively regularly. And now, moving forward, a 1-16. I mean, it's crazy. We didn't know if we'd ever see a 1-16 before UMBC. And now we've had 2 in 5 years. It's because when you look at these top 4 teams, was Purdue really a 1 seed? I don't think so. You have to find 4 1 seeds, you know? Were they really a 1?